Welcome back to the podcast. Today, it looks like Essex has thrown up on our couch. If you're not watching this and you're listening to it, please just go and check out on YouTube, because I feel like once you see George, you'll be able to picture it in your mind when he's talking, because I just don't think you'll get the full flavour of Essex unless you see it.
100%.
Unless you just think of like a hat and garden jewelry, like
He has got a point, to be fair.
Yeah. Other than that, anyway, welcome to the podcast, mate.
You all right, fella?
You said right. It's like, you know, when like Keith Lemon isn't a real person. If I've just broken that for you, I'm sorry. But like Keith Lemon is a person playing another person, and I feel like sometimes you're like George playing George.
Yeah. It's always got to be entertaining sometimes, you know what I mean? That's what helps my Instagram and stuff like that, to be fair. So, but I do like to bring my personality to it, even if it's random as fuck or weird or what people think, you know. It is just me, to be fair, but it is my ADHD goes off on massive tangents sometimes.
Were you that kid in school where like you were like a fully grown man when you were like 8?
I was always used to say like, they always used to say he takes his authority into his own hands. Even like when I was like a kid, they used to call me a one-man vigilante. When my mum and dad used
as a child,
when my mum and dad used to come home from parents' evening, they'd be like, they said you're a one-man vigilante. I'd be like, yeah, that's fucking good, ain't it? And they'd be like, no, because my mum was a teacher. So yeah, that's why whenever anyone used to say teachers are dickheads, I used to give him a little dig or something like that, you know?
Oh, really?
Like, my mum's a teacher, don't say that, you cunt. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I imagine at school probably...
You used to be a teacher as well, didn't you?
I did used to be a teacher, yeah.
Be a teacher as well, yeah. Stick up for you as well then. Yeah, man.
I can just imagine you as like a 12-year-old child. Like,
well, what used to be really funny is I always used to thank every teacher after every lesson, like just being polite and stuff. But that's why I never used to get into trouble as well, because I used to sweet talk them. But what a lot of teachers couldn't believe is, say for example, if I was like in trouble, I used to wink them and be like, oh, I'm sorry, miss. And like look them up and down. And they used to be like, I can't believe you're actually like
trying that.
At me. Yeah. And I reckon, I don't know what was used to said in the staff rooms, but I reckon it was quite funny, to be fair.
You know what? Like for kids like you, it's one of them ones that like, sorry, my phone just vibrated. I thought it was the Nando's.
No.
It's not the Nando's. It's false alarm. Yeah. Like it used to be kids like you and you'd be like, fucking, can you believe this kid? And then, but you'd be like, yeah, but after school it'll be all right though, won't it?
Yeah, like always, yeah.
We had a kid like that called Joe, who like he was a bit naughty and like a bit of like a wise kid, but you just knew when like he was in like middle set year 9 science, and that class honestly were fucking, it was bad. But you'd sit there and you go, Joe's fucking, he's hard work. But it would be sound Joe. It would be sound because he's polite. And like,
that's what I was like. I always knew that teachers are just humans. Like when I was actually in primary school, I used to think that teachers actually lived in the school. And I'd be like,
they think you're robots. And they see you outside, they're like, oh, sir, you go Tesco. And I'm like, as opposed to Morrison's or like whether I just shop at all.
Yeah. But I used to get myself into so much more trouble than what I used to. Because say, for example, if I got like into a fight and they were just trying to say to me like, look, would you do it again? I'd be like, yes, I'll fucking knock him out 100% again. They'd be like, I'm going to ask you again, would you do it? And I'd be like, yes, you've already asked me that. And they'd be like, yeah, you're excluded now. So
we gave you your lifeline. You spat on it.
I'd be like, sweet, then no worries.
I could actually imagine you saying it though, like your gold rings on, sat in this parents' meeting, like, right, you suspended. Like, sweet. See you Thursday, yeah.
Literally, I'll wait for you outside of school, you twat.
I'm guessing that school ended up in a lot of trouble then.
Yeah. In school, the thing is, school was good. Like everyone always, you know, some people hate school. I absolutely love school because I was the only year, I always say this way, you know, you could do your GCSEs at the end of school. We could do ours in year 10. And you only needed 5 GCSEs, C and above, to get into the best one. So I got English, maths, science, something else. So I was actually not that bad at school. I was quite academic. Then when I realised I only needed one more GCSE, I just went in stoned every single day. I used to rip about 6-7 bongs before I used to go to school. And everyone used to just sit there like, how are you so happy on a Monday? I'd be like, what's going on? And just sit there at break time. I'd spend like $5 on food and that, yeah. It was good. Actually, it's my best years, yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah, we had a kid that was in year, and like you'd say one thing to him and he'd be like, "Sir, you're burning my head out here." And you'd be like,
Exactly
you're so high.
Yeah.
I don't even know you've managed to walk in here without anyone. And like, you know, when I knew he was high, but the other teachers didn't know he was high. And I'm like, that kid's stoned as fuck.
Yeah, you know.
And like, one of the teaching assistants obviously like had a bit about him, and he's like, yeah, no,
yeah.
stinks of weed. And I'm like, what the fuck do we do?
Yeah, man.
He's not causing any problems.
Yeah.
Because obviously then we knew if we like went to everyone else, they'd be like, oh my God, he's taking drugs in school. And I'm like, no, he's probably taken drugs on the way into school. And now he's just fucking, he's stoned as fuck.
I done all of my like GCSE stone, to be fair. I remember I done geography and I was so gassed about opening my results. I thought I got a sick grade. I got like an E, but I must have just wrote about the most like weirdest shit for about hours.
You'd have been shit at Latin, because in Latin, like you have to, basically the whole test was just like, look at this and then tell us what it says.
But
no like
chance.
Depending on how you interpret the story, it can go like two separate ways. So I remember in my GCSE, so you translate all the words, but the words aren't in order, and then you've got to kind of piece together the sentence. And I'm like, right, there's a pharaoh and a crocodile, and like one of them's killed the other one, but I'm not quite sure which way it's going to go here. And you've got a lead at the start, right? So like at the start of this translation, I had to be like, right, either the pharaoh's killed the crocodile's killed the pharaoh. And I had the crocodile's killed the pharaoh. And then I get back down to the end of it, and I'm like, oh my God, he's made him into shoes. I'm like, there's no way the crocodile's there's no way the crocodile's made the pharaoh into a pair of slippers. You'd have been there like, bro, that crocodile's wearing pharaoh slippers, man.
Yeah, you know, I'd have just been like, sweet. But I know what you mean. When the paper's going away, you're like, fuck, that's what I was supposed to put.
Yeah. So then after that, did you go into college? Did you go to college?
Yes, I went to college, but college was a little bit of a mishap. I didn't really sit many of my exams. And
I attended college.
I think, at college I was not doing the best things with my life and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? I actually made which is really, really funny, because I had done media. And my media film was about a young lad who done drug dealing, right? And then I'd done
like Top Boy.
Yeah, but I actually done a video in media, videoing
yourself drug
what was
dealing.
actually going on. And when I actually put the video up,
so you made it sound like fiction, but it wasn't. It was a documentary.
Yeah, and I used to also walk around my college with a hat on, if everyone knows, from Colchester, that said your local dealer on it. But everyone just generally thought, would he be that stupid? But yeah. And then the next few years, the media teacher used to say, George's like video was so good. It was so authentic. And I was a thing like, yeah.
That's because it was. It was fucking real.
Yeah. But yeah, college was a little bit shit, to be fair. I went to sixth form because my mum and dad always wanted to push me more down like the academic route and stuff like that. They didn't really believe that I would have probably done too well. Like they both went to uni, to be fair. But they always spent most of their adult life being a little bit unhappy with their career choices and stuff, moaning about it all the time. And like home life was a little bit shit. So I sort of wanted to break that a little bit. But at college, sixth form was horrible. We used to do drugs like most days, like quite high off your own supply and all shit like that. And it like fucked me up a little bit. So I had to have a little bit of time out of college, and I joined Institute, which is basically like where all the fucking thick people go, basically.
Right.
Yeah. And then I done a BTEC in sport.
The perfect way to be a personal trainer.
Yeah, mate. And they used to say, we used to say, what can we do after? And they used to laugh at us and go, work at reception. And I'd be like, sweet as a nut then. Thank you for giving me so much fucking... I remember once the teachers were talking with each other. We've been like messing around for an hour. I was like, you're going to teach us today? She was like, well, you don't listen. I was like, well, we don't get fucking paid to sit here. You do, so you can at least fucking start teaching. So yeah, and she was just like, okay.
Fair point.
Yeah, it's actually... I was like, I've got a few like... from it, but yeah. And then after, funny enough, the way I become a PT is I used to be obese as a kid, and I used to be really, really fat. Wherever I weighed in age, I was in stone. I was about 17 stone at about 16. And I used to do, you must know the career finders thing you do on the internet.
I'm aware of them, yeah.
So you just put in all your personalities and stuff. It'd tell you what you'd be good at. I was going to be a PE teacher or a PT.
Yeah. And
so I just made PT work. I still done the course fat. When I remember doing a bench press, like when we all went to the gym, and I was like doing it
it's
wrong.
like that. But everyone does that.
Everyone was like,
doesn't matter how fat you are, it's just uncoordination. That
everyone was like laughing at me and stuff like that when I'd done it. But to be fair, I just threw it at the wall and just made it stick. Since then, I grafted my tits off, like went all the way up from being about £20 an hour to about £55 an hour. used to do about like 48 hours PT a week. Not very sociable, but you learn a lot from it. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. You
learn a lot about yourself as well. But since obviously transitioning online, the fucking how quick things have gone, like hiring people into my business, like all of the logistics that I didn't understand before. Like I was even saying to Steve before, in February, I only just got an app for my business. I was using PDFs and I was using Excel. But that just goes to show that people buy people invest in people, not sometimes these fancy systems that you got, this, that, and the other. People will invest in you in like your results, who you are and how you are as a person. When people say they can't afford it, I get people taking out loans, I get people taking Klarna, I get people telling me not to ever put it on Instagram because their missus would kill them. Do you know what I mean? So like people can afford it if it's something they really want or see themselves within that to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. How do you reckon, your teachers in college would probably feel now if they
they actually messaged me the other day. They're putting me on a hall.
Well, the college or
yeah. So the actual college, the head of the sports department, I saw him at a football game the other day. Yeah, and he'd said, "Give me your email. You're going to be up on the Hall of Fame on the Colchester Institute." I was like, "Sweet."
Yeah. That's pretty big. That you never mentioned that.
Yeah, it was nice. And then I said, "I'm doing a talk there. Do you?"
They're really good. I've done them. They're
been
brilliant
buzzing to do it. Like basically every single day. I remember when I said this when I done the hot seat in Manchester. When I said I have a vision board, everyone looked at me like, "What? He's got a vision board?" But like at the end of like my bed, every day I wake up, I've got loads of stuff on there and that. And Stone Island is on there, by the way. But
in the middle, just logo.
Yeah. But it does have things like my college, how much I'm going to earn, clients, and all stuff like that. And I just wake up, look at it for 10 minutes a day, and manifest it. Do you know what I mean? So
no, that's massive. You know what? Like that's really good for me to hear because that's one of the things that like I started this business to be able to do, which was like when I left being a teacher, right? Like when I used to, because obviously like minus the tattoos and stuff like that, I was fucking actually a lot bigger. But people would be like, "Oh, you're a teacher," and I'd be like, "Yeah," and they'd be like, "Oh wow, that's really good. That you teach PE," and I'd be like, "No, I teach science." They'd be like, "Fucking hell, like." It's a really good job. Bearing in mind, I'm pulling in like fucking the same wage that I got in Tesco.
Yeah, literally.
But like people like think of it as a really good job, and then after that, people would be like, "Oh, what do you do?" And you'd be like, "Oh, I'm a personal trainer." They'd be like, "Oh yeah, right, yeah."
I remember.
Looks, I can see that.
I've been to like big business events, like, and when you sit round like CEOs, executives of their own company, and like, I remember the first time I went, I was like, "I'm a PT," and they just all looked at me like I was a little bit of shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like I wish I could go back there now and show you what I'm earning now. Do you know what I mean?
Agreed.
Or
And
like,
even my mum, I've said it before, like my mum was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah. Did you say she like cried or something when
she
you
was
said
very upset? She wasn't happy.
Yeah, it's the same as me and my mum and dad.
She was like, "You're throwing it away. You're throwing everything away." And I'm like, "Well, I've already left, so it's gone."
I still think people don't understand actually how much you can earn, but like, it's not all about how much you can earn. It's about like the authority that you can have, what it can give you, like the confidence and so much more than just money.
No, I agree. But I think obviously, there's a massive group of people that well, not for everyone, but like for a lot of people, your career becomes your identity. Like you kind of are what you do. And again, there's other things like I guess when people become parents and stuff like that, then that kind of can take over at times.
Yeah.
But like generally people define themselves by what they do.
1,000,000%.
And if you define yourself by a career that other people look down on, or because other people look down on it, you look down on it and you think, "Oh, I'm just a fucking personal trainer."
Yeah.
It can be a very, very difficult place to be for a lot of the time.
Yeah. I remember when I was living in my first flat, it's so funny. I used to have a poster up of me in my flat, in my living room, the life-size version.
It doesn't sound funny that I know that because I know you. That doesn't surprise me at all.
So I had that right, and when they put my flat up for sale, they actually kept it in the Rightmove thing, and people were messaging me like, "There's some weirdo's got a poster of you, I think, in their flat,"
and you're like, "Yeah, what a gun."
But I remember when the woman, she come round and she was sort of sat there with me and she goes, "Oh, you'd be a well good estate agent." And I was like, "No, I'm sweet with being a PT." And I could just kind of tell from how she was talking to me. I sort of said to her, "You think I don't do that well, do you?" She was like, "No, her PTs just do shit." And I thought, like, fucking hell. Like, I know some PTs get a bad name and stuff like that, but it's like what we said, like what you can say. If you do good by someone, they'll tell 5. If you do bad by people, they'll tell 50 people.
But that's
what I'm saying.
like we cut these little clips out, right? And they go on YouTube and TikTok and shit like that. And people are like, oh my God, like he fucking like always goes on about like how well he's doing. And I'm like, no, you're taking clips of stories because what actually happens all the time is people make assumptions that you're doing shit because you're a personal trainer. Like people make assumptions that you earn a couple of grand a month. Not there's anything wrong with earning a couple of grand a month, but like 100%. People make assumptions that you are, you know, scraping by to buy, you basically live in sweatpants and you only do this job because that was the only thing you got a qualification in.
Yeah, like in Pain and Gain. Have you seen that? You know,
I have seen that, yeah.
Yeah, when he's like sat there drinking milk in his flat with loads of bills everywhere, like it looks like he's killing it.
But people assume that that's what you do. So like when, like, fucking always going about training instructors, but it's always on the train when it happens. Like we were sat on the train and, you know, Thiago, who plays for Liverpool, he was sat like next to us and there was a couple of other people in his carriage. And the bloke walked in straight up to me and was like, I can't remember. He just said, oh, can I check your tickets? Like what, past everyone else and just went straight up to me and my missus was like, oh, can we check your tickets?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And then he walked out the back of the train and he didn't check anyone else's in the carriage. And when he came back through, I actually stopped him and I went, excuse me, mate, like, do you mind answering like why you checked our tickets and no one else? He's like, I'm about to check everyone else's tickets now. And I was like, yeah, but why specifically ours first and then go and have a break and then come back and check everyone else's? And I think it was just like, I'll ship these out of here.
I get like that all the time. I feel like people probably think from like my Instagram or like the way I come across and that probably like, how can he run a business? But it's like what you were saying earlier, it's like you do have to stand out from the crowd in a little bit. And I have always liked to be centre of attention and I have always been like that. But just because you come across a certain way on Instagram doesn't mean you can't or have your shit together. Usually Instagram is more the other way. The people that really try and come across that they do have their shit together are the ones faking it on Instagram anyway, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? At least it brings some authenticity to it and stuff like that.
Yeah, listen, like, I can't hide it. It fucking annoys me. And I can't pretend that it doesn't. Like, I wish I could be like, oh yeah, well, you know, it does bother me.
Yeah.
Like, we get looked at on our estate like we're fucking scum. Like, like we're shipping white out of the garage every night to afford to be there. Like,
yeah, you know, man.
It's fucking nuts. So anyway, aside from that massive sidestep, how did you actually, so you did this career finder thing.
Yes.
Got into PT.
Yeah.
How did that start?
So I started in a gym right near me. It's actually so funny, right? I was working in a kebab shop part-time and mate, I swear.
All right, boss man.
Yeah. Hello, would you like chili sauce salad?
I wasn't going to do the accent.
Small, medium or large? That's right, because they used to think I'm all Turkish anyway, so it don't matter. But so the road at the gym that I joined, because I was such a confident person, I walked in there, asked for the manager, like pretty much got the job on the spot. The same road is the one where I worked in a kebab shop and we used to give out free chips, whilst we were waiting. Then that same week I was telling people how to do exercise and that.
See them free chips?
Yeah.
No more of them.
And then I went, because I was like money hungry that weekend, I went to go back into the kebab shop and I was like, this isn't really relying like with my brand anymore. Like I can't keep selling doner kebabs and now also doing PTing. So then what I've done is I took about 6 months just being a fitness instructor. I wasn't doing any PT and stuff like that. And the agreement was that I would sort of learn a lot about it myself, learn how a gym runs, sort of walk in before I could run because, you know, like they say, a wise man will learn from his mistakes, but a wiser man will learn from others. And I always researched that. I'm massive into self-development. I've read all the wishy-washy shit and podcasts and motivational things like... So that's what I basically done at first. And when I used to do PT a little bit on my lunch break and that they let me do it, I just fucking loved it. And I couldn't believe, say for example, coming from a really fat kid who didn't really do that well in school, used to get into a lot of trouble, used to get into a lot of fights, like whatever, used to be able to tell people on how to look good and feel good, even though I was still struggling a little bit myself, was just amazing. And then to be fair to you, when I actually just hit the ground running, I joined a gym called Leisure World, but you had to be employed. And I just kept wearing all my own clothes and that and there, and they hated me. And like, I'm not going to lie to you. So when you had to basically PT people, you had to write down when you PT'd them. I was just letting people come in. Yeah. And then I actually had a resignation letter in my pocket waiting for the manager to come down and sack me, basically because I was earning more money than what I should because I didn't want to give him any more rent. And then when he come downstairs and was like, right, George, come into here, I was like, don't worry, mate, I fucking resign anyway, so see you later. I was thinking, I don't want to be 45 on my thing. So then I actually went and joined a private gym, which I know a lot of people sort of haven't actually done. So then what I actually had to learn then is because in the private gym, it was just me and one fella, right? And in the private gym, you can't go around the gym floor like talking to people and stuff like that. So I actually had to gain the confidence going into like Ferrari garages and asking to do talks on like health and fitness, or like on lunch breaks going in and talking about how good it is. And I used to do like big classes and stuff like that, and actually used to earn quite good from it. But having to put yourself into the sort of like the shit, you had to learn a lot. And I actually realised there's this thing called like, so this was probably about 5 years ago, I reckon. Then I had to sort of learn about, you know, like online stuff, but I never had any online clients, but I was getting PT clients.
Yeah, you were marketing online.
Yeah. So I sort of had a little bit of a natural sort of thing to it, and then kind of just left there because the geezer mugged me off. And so I left there. And then I joined a new gym. I moved out from a really toxic fucking house when I was like 19 years old, 20 years old. Moved out from there. My outgoings went from like 200 quid to like 2.5 grand overnight. And within the first week of me joining this gym, I was just in there non-stop. You know, like we go on about this sort of graft mentality that we have. Like I used to go to this gym at 6 o'clock in the morning. I did not leave till 10 o'clock at night, 5 or 6 days a week. I used to carry around a little pocket. Sound like I was going to say pocket pussy then, but like a pocket like diary thing, right? And then in the other,
that's much easier on my imagination than that.
I had the pocket pussy in the other pocket. No, I'm joking. So like in the diary, I used to basically write down the person's name, what time they come in, a little bit about them, and the conversation that we had, and then the next time I come in, I would write down sort of the time they were in. I'd go up to them, I remember their name and be like, oh, hello, mate, you all right? Did you enjoy watching Man U on the weekend? And they'd be like, what? He remembers me. And I'd be like, look, mate, to be fair, what are you training today? They'd be like, oh, I'm training chest. And I'd be like, do you want me to just take you through a 10-minute chest program? Every time I'd be like giving them value, saying how good it is. Like there's 166 hours in a week of this. I need to help you with this and that. And the amount of clients I just got from that was like, I filled my dive in 3 months. And there was a gym before who I interviewed in, and they didn't give me the job because they didn't think I'd be able to fill the fucking thing, fill up my diary, and I was buzzing to knock into him. And when he knocked into me, he went, oh, how you getting on? And I was like, fucking full diary, thank you, mate. Like, I was so buzzing to tell him, do you know what I mean?
Fuck off.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, mate, full diary, straight up. But I feel like I got a lot of my drive from sort of things that, like people saying you can't do this, you can't do that. I use a lot of that fuel to my fire. Yes, it might help watching the motivational videos to tell you to do that, because I do think you can go one or two ways, because I think you can go sometimes like on a positive treadmill or a negative treadmill. Sometimes the positive treadmill will be sort of like when things are going tough, you're going to be going up, up and up. But the negative treadmill, when you're going down, don't do things that make you go down, which I still used to do being a PT. I'd go out on Friday, come back Sunday morning with my jaw at my feet, just like, do you know what I mean? And them days are kind of over, but do you know what I mean? Every now and again. But you have to realise that some people listening to this or whatever, you have to start from somewhere. This is what I like, that I believe it does help having coaching background or working with people within PT sometimes to help build your online PT, because my PT prices were all the way up at £55 an hour. When I gave them a downsell, which is, you know, you don't say that in business, you call it an upsell, but technically it's a downsell. When I moved them on to online, it was pretty easy, to be honest with you. And yeah, so that's how I managed to start going online, to be fair.
Yeah, but how long had you worked in person for?
7 years.
So this is what I mean, like you've spent 7 years like learning the trade, understanding people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you weren't always, you know, as successful as you are now, like throughout that 7-year period. Like there's a graduation, and I think a lot of people don't understand that it comes with learning what to say to people, learning how to speak to people,
100%.
tracking down the conversations that you've had with people.
Yes.
All of that stuff. And people just assume that there's this turnkey strategy that like was going to make you a load of money. And like, I'm going to be honest with you, if there was a turnkey strategy to just make everyone money overnight, I wouldn't be selling it to people. I'd just be using it myself and making fucking trillions.
No, you're right, man. 100%. And obviously, like, I found it hard to give up the PT originally, because I was doing 35 hours at £55 a week. Do you know what I mean? Like quick maths, that's quite a decent amount of dough to take home. Obviously, a lot of it is cash as well. So do you know what I mean?
So you stop saying that online because you're going to get a fucking investigation.
Yeah, edit that up, please. But at the end of the day, if you are considering going from one-to-one PT to online, it can be a little bit daunting and stuff like that. But the amount of freedom that it gives you, and also, to be honest with you, like I know a lot of people will back this up as well. My clients get better results online than they do one-to-one. And I think a lot of coaches maybe don't realise that sometimes because they've got that daily accountability 24/7. Do you know what I mean?
It's just you're fresher as well, I think. Like if you're genuinely doing like 40 good sessions, not 40 sessions where you like turn up and just watch them do pull downs and count to 12. But if you're like locked in on that client for 40 sessions, it's fucking draining.
Oh yeah,
like
massively.
Really draining. Like people like, I'd be like, I'd do 5 sessions in a day, right? And I'd be fucked. And people are like, you've only worked 5 hours a day. And I'm like, you don't understand like how mentally taxing each individual session is.
That's why, like, I'm not going to lie to you. I'll be very, very, very fucking honest. Like, I grew my online business as you know, still doing 28, 25 hours a week. I was so tired. I was stressed and I had drips and drabbles and I did have wobbles, but there is just certain things. If you have the certain structures in place, basically I just thought like, you tell me to do this, I'm going to fucking do it. Do you know what I mean? You've told me the systems, you've told me to do this, I will make time to do it. I am so like anal when it comes to like my diary. It's like hour by hour, half an hour by half an hour. Do you know what I mean? Even if I've done 5 hours in the morning, 6 till 11, there's still 3 hours of lead gen in that day you can still do. You can still fit your training in. There's an hour to do your content. You can still do your steps. You can do your lead gen whilst you go for a walk. I think it's excuses sometimes. Do you know what I mean? But people know I'm a straight talking person. I know some people are also busier than others, but everyone's got 24 hours in a day.
I think for some people, they're just not ready.
No.
Like
mentally.
Some people, just physically, mentally, they're just not ready to put that graft in and make that much money. Like I can say that it's simple to make money online. It's not difficult. And like stories like yours are like back that up. Like one of the reasons why I love the fitness industry and why everyone slags it off and like, well, there's no governing this, there's no this, there's no that. And I'm like, good. That means that people that weren't fucking perfect in college or university or didn't have the best upbringing or all of that, made mistakes earlier, you still get into it and make a really good fucking living. Yeah, I'm glad there's not a medical degree that required to go into it. Man. Because that would mean that, well, maybe, but that would mean that like, you know, if you didn't get an A in your A-level biology, and you wouldn't get an offer to do medicine. No, like that's what that means. Like if you get a B, you're not getting in to do medicine. Dream 100%. Gone. Pick another job. Yeah. And that's fucked, in my opinion. I know. That means that a 16, 17-year-old basically loses out on their whole life's dream because they fucked up one exam when they were a teenager. Yeah, 100%. And that's why I love, there's fucking so much pressure. And it's probably the time where you're trying to figure out who you fucking are at the most as well. Like you've just left school, you've been left to your own devices for the first time. Like college is a very different environment than school. It's a lot less structure. Yeah. Nobody's chasing you. I had a car, so I could like go in and out and like go home and go to the gym and stuff like that. And you know, when I went to the gym and then RE was the only period I had afterwards, I was like, is it really worth driving back for that? Yeah, you're left to your own devices. And if you don't cope with that very well, which I didn't, I remember like my top offer at Man Uni got whacked off the table 3 months into college. Yeah. 3 months in you apply. It's madness. Yeah, it is crazy, man. I think that also like all this like uni bollocks and stuff like that. I've got a friend who went to uni to do fitness. I think it's called like fitness management and personal training. Yeah, I know what you mean. And he done a 3-year course, 27 grand. I started being a personal trainer straight. I've done a 6-week course, cost me 3.5 grand. By the time he'd finished, he's still paying off like the debt now. And I was probably already up to like 30, 40 clients. Do you know what I mean? Like you just have to get in it and do the experience. And there is down days. I've had it before, like we've all had it as PTs and stuff. Like every time you look at your phone, you feel like everyone's going, can't afford it anymore, mate. And it's like when you get through them times, that's what builds a resilience to actually build a business. Do you know what I mean? Like what I really like about like Steve and stuff, they actually say like try and fail, like get people on sales calls and fail so you learn how to work around that again. That's the whole point in the parcel is fail more and you'll be able to sort of learn the objections what people have to then put it into your own business and stuff like that. Which is why like for example,
obviously with my niche, obviously you go on my Instagram, it says like the geezers coach. And it's just something that I play on a lot, because when you are your niche, for example, when you're the epitome of your niche, it fucking really, really helps. Because when you're trying to think of content ideas, you're like, what do I struggle with? When you're trying to talk to people who are on your level, it's just real and authentic. Do you know what I mean? So when I go on Instagram and I go on like casual chaps, or I go on to Tom Skinner, or I go on to people that are associated with being a geezer, and I'm talking to them exactly like that, it's just so easy to just be like friends with people. And the amount of clients I get through them just saying, oh mate, you just make me feel like I'm your pal. And I'll be very honest with you, like I used to remember like doing PT courses and even having previous mentors like never break that barrier of like having a client as a friend. And I'm like, I can literally tell everyone right now, every single client I have I would class as a pretty good friend. And some of them like really good friends. I wouldn't be doing a holiday launch where I take 10 geezers on holiday and we all get shredded and then go on holiday and I pay for the accommodation and bring my videographer over there. Do you know what I mean? Like that's why like with even my launches specific towards my niche, do you know what I mean? Like if you're like a boring fuck and you start all of a sudden saying you want to do a holiday launch, you're not going to get anyone coming over.
Yeah, for sure.
People like that my systems are adapted so you can have like, you know, what we call like less calories in the week, so then you can have more in the weekend. That's how I literally coach my clients. That is in the app, that you have less calories throughout the week, do more output. So on the weekend, you can have kebabs, you can do this and get your end away at the end of the night with wearing Stone Island. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to sign up to that?
Exactly.
But no, I do agree. I think you understanding your niche has to be something that you do. I know a lot of people go after certain audiences because they think they earn more money, and therefore
I feel people chase money straight away, didn't they? But let's be honest, right? Let's have it real. When you are getting objections of people saying that they don't have the money, it's because you haven't given them enough value yet.
Or they don't believe in you, and that's because you've chased something that you don't have any credibility in.
Yeah, 100%. Like if I started trying to get loads of women on sales calls, I don't think I'm going to be closing many sales, because what I'm trying to use is like the pillars that I use within my coaching or what I work with is specifically for men. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I have got a few female clients and they'll be the happiest person to say they are what you call geezer birds. They literally are. They are like birds that are a geezer. So like, there you go then. That's why they suit within it, you know?
Drink pints.
Yeah, they all drink pints, yeah.
Even I don't drink pints.
Love watching football. What do you drink?
Bottles.
Bottles?
Yeah, I always drink it out of a bottle.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just prefer it out of a bottle.
I like a pint of Guinness, man.
Yeah.
I had about 8 last night, yeah.
Did you actually?
Yeah.
Did you go out in Liverpool?
Yeah.
On your own?
Yeah.
Fucking.
Well.
Yeah. Swiftly moving on from that before you get in trouble.
Yeah.
But no, it's honestly, understanding that's one of the biggest things that you have is you have a relatability to your niche. And
100%.
That's one of the things that has made you so successful. But the other thing is like you don't turn off.
Nah, definitely not. Like I feel like it's really funny. Like when you actually research, by the way, if you look at the top 1%, they all have these things that everyday people say they've got wrong with them. Why have all these like, it sounds a bit cringy saying top 1%, but I am being honest, like the top 1%
is still a lot of people.
Exactly, yeah. But a lot of them, that large majority of the top 1% all have something wrong with them, which might be classed as ADHD, ADD, autism. Well, why is it called something wrong with you if they're all doing sick? Do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, if you have this drive from somewhere, you just got to use it to the best of your capability. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, and people say to me, I've never really said to myself, I spread myself too thin and stuff. Like, I just don't know what it is, but there is something inside of me that's always, even people at school used to say like, you're always very philosophical at school, and people come to you for a lot of advice, even though like my life was always pretty fucked anyway. Like, I'd always be giving
I'm good at giving it, but not following it.
Yeah, I'd be going home like, oh, I hate this, but like just still helping out everyone else. Do you know what I mean? So I am very well suited to sort of like what I do within my job, to be fair. That's why I love it. And I think like, really sounds as cliche as is, if you don't really, really love what you're doing, you're not going to get to that really, really high level sometimes, because the days that you are tired, the days that you are down, you are just going to lay in bed, you are just going to give up, and you are just going to say yes to everything else. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's a perfect place to end the podcast, to be fair. I think it's very, very philosophical.
Yeah,
like
I told
you said.
you, man.
Do you have any parting words for people that are maybe struggling with the business that need a bit of motivation?
If you're struggling with your business, I'd just say invest in it as much as possible, to be fair, and just talk out. And to be honest with you, right, I actually have, which you could call like a counselor, you could call it a spiritual mentor. I don't know what.
Shaman.
Yeah.
Shaman.
And she fucking helps me so much. But I also come from a background where when you hear some other successful people talking, like my dad was a role model, this person was a role model, I literally had no role models, and if they were, they're all in jail now. Do you know what I mean? So I have to now try and look up to more people like yourself, and I'm like more other people that are more shed light in that. So you need to have more people around you that also are doing. I remember being sat at a talk once and everyone said, you're the 5 people who you are in 5 years' time, which like it can be true and it can't be true. Like if you can't say no and stuff like that, you always do have the choice. Like I still do have friends that like, if I stayed with them all the time, I would be fucked, and I have a great time with them still. But like, it is true. Like you do need to network and you do need to invest. Like, unfortunately, I find a lot of PTs are a little bit naive, and they do come from a background where some of them are quite arrogant, and sometimes they do think they know it all. And it's like, but look at your business is a pile of shit. Do you know what I mean? You need to
We
invest.
try and say that in the nicest possible way. Like,
Yeah.
people are like, yeah, but well, I'm just going to wait until I earn X amount, and then I'm going to think, and I'm like, oh, so you're making less money on purpose.
Yeah, where does that? Well, you're just going to pull it out your ass.
You're trying to earn less money. If I just said, hey, do you mind making more money? You'd be like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, of course I will.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
so you're making less money on purpose. Oh no, I'm trying it. So like, okay, well, what's magically going to happen for you to make that number? I'm like, if everyone only invested when they had way more money than they needed to invest, it's not really an investment, that is it? It's just like, if you go around life trying to look for a sure thing, you're never going to find it.
Yeah.
But I think that's just personal confidence a lot of the time. Sometimes
100%.
it's lack of confidence, and sometimes it's arrogance, and I think those two can cause the same problem.
Yeah, they can 100%, because when you feel like, you know, you've said it so many times that everyone says they close these sales calls and stuff like that, and it's like you ask them how many clients they've got and they're like 8, and you're like, well, that doesn't really make sense, does it?
I'm brilliant at sales. What do you sell for? £80.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I've just got to get them on a call first. I have said that before, a lot of times before, but I do get the calls booked now, so that's all right. So
perfect. And where can people find you if they want to see a bit more of the lifestyle?
Sweet. So if you want to find me in the local Gazette. No, I'm joking. Go on to Instagram, Sampo Transformation Coach, and on Spotify, find my podcast called The Geezers Podcast.
Is it actually called The Geezers Podcast?
Swear to God, yeah.
That's brilliant.
And I actually had that as The Geezers Podcast before I labelled myself as The Geezers Coach as well.
You're already on it.
Sweet.
On it. Thank you very much, mate.
Sweet as a nut.